So one of the things that we didn't get in the original episode was the explanation of how the Kolesnik team came together. So can we go back? Will you guys tell us that story?
Yeah. So Jacob and I, we hadn't played in a little while, but we decided that we wanted to play in an event, try out playing again. So originally we were going to play in something else, but we figured, well, why don't we try this one? So we started looking for teammates, and Jacob, we were trying to figure out where to start. And, we thought of Bob Hammond. Who else is better to build a team around? So that's where we started. So I called Bob, and he said he'd be happy to team, and Jacob talked to Bart. What was that like, Jacob?
Bart was thrilled about the idea to team with us. He thought it was a great opportunity to mentor us a bit and was excited to team with Bob and Peter as well. So overall, it was just a great scenario, and it paid off to reach out to these guys and invite them to team with us here, which I think we were a bit hesitant to do at the time.
So how long between when you guys decided to call Bob did it take Finn to actually call Bob up?
Like a month or two.
Well, I would say, I think probably more realistically, maybe 5 reminders from Jacob and I got there. So that was like a week and a half. Jacob is very persistent. If he wants something to happen, he makes it happen.
Why did you finally decide to make the call? What had kept you from making it in the previous 4 reminders?
It's like, it shouldn't be that way because Bob is such an easy guy to talk to. But sometimes you just work it up in your mind like it's going to be such a big deal, especially, you're worried he's going to say no or whatever. But I think, you just have to not think about it and go for it because it's not going to be bad even if they do say no or whatever.
So did you come right out and ask him?
I told myself I'm going to call him. I dialed his number and then I said, "Hey, Bob, you want a team in this?" And then he was like, "Sounds great, Finn." He made it a seamless experience.
So literally, like you said in the same sentence, "Hey Bob, do you want a team in this ACBL knockout?" Like that, it wasn't
quite
went
that
right
quick.
for it.
Wasn't quite that quick. I said, "Hey Bob, how's it going?" And then I asked him. So
he
two
tried
sentences.
texting him first, but then realized Bob never responds to text. So
I actually spoke to Bob recently, and I asked him to play in the Schaefer game with me, and he was partially inspired by you two, and so we're playing tomorrow night.
Nice.
Yeah. So thanks for that. I've never played with him before.
You wanted to avoid a field with me and Bert in it, or how do you decide on tomorrow night?
I would like nothing more than for you and Bart to. That makes it that much more meaningful of a win.
Tomorrow's Friday night. I'll try to. I'll try to
Finn,
find a partner.
playing that.
Yeah, I'll have
we need to teach these guys a lesson.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, because I was telling, when I saw the team, I thought it was fun. I thought that they gave it a nod to you guys to make it Finn Kolesnik's team. They were just kind of being nice, but I didn't realize. I was very surprised to find out that this was a team that you guys actually made happen.
They're all nice guys, and they want the best for the youth bridge, and I think we figured we'd try it out.
And what did your dad say when you told him about this team? Jacob, I'm sorry, I don't know your dad, but I do know Finn's dad pretty well.
But yeah, well, my dad, he thought it was really cool. He said he was rooting for me the whole way through. So it was great. My dad has known Bob for a long time back in Texas, probably at least 20 years. So I think Bob spoke to my dad about it also, actually.
My dad said, "Bob who?" No, my dad knew who Bob was just from me talking about him a lot and saying how great a player and great a teammate he is. So my dad was definitely happy for me and Finn to have that opportunity.
And so who did you tell first, Finn? Did you tell Jacob, or did you tell your dad that Bob was going to play with you guys?
Well, as Jacob kept on, asking, I had to fill in Jacob first. I entered our team once I could, but I wasn't really in a rush to tell any about it. I figured I would tell people about it once we won the event and not just that we entered a team, I didn't want to enter a team and say, "Wow, look at how great these teammates are," and then have the results unexciting.
That's a result that I'd like to have on my resume, frankly, tying for first in the first ever NAOBC online. I'm reaching out to someone as a potential partner for Double Dummy to screen the film with her organization. Her organization works with the elderly, And in the email that I initially reached out to her, I actually told her about that you guys tied for first in this event, like as a 17, a 19, and an 82-year-old.
Well,
like,
yes, 16, but yeah.
16, excuse me. Rare are the games that bring together champions of such varied ages. I mean, it's an extraordinary accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Jacob and I just, played our game. We had some ups and downs, but I feel like, when Jacob had a bad day, I played well, and when I had a bad day, Jacob played well. So I feel like we're never too bad, and we try to bring back solid scores and let our teammates do the heavy lifting.
What's a bad day for you guys? For one of you guys?
Like you mean like number of mistakes, or what do you mean?
Well, you said when Jacob had a bad day, you played well, or when you had a bad day, Jacob played well. Like what's a bad day at this point?
I think that kind of depended on who we were facing as well. Sometimes where we wouldn't play up to our potential, but we'd still end up coming out with big pickup that set. And then there were other times where we played well and we ended up dropping several imps that set. So for us, the bad day was more measured in mistakes than actual like performance. So we knew when we made a big mistake. So it was probably like a couple of those a set would be considered a bad day for us. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, it's like, it's kind of how big the mistake is, because there's some hands where it's like, I messed something up, but it's a really minor inference that I missed, or it's like I did something that's a little bit wrong and maybe it worked out really poorly, but it's minor enough to where like I don't take it too hard. But when I miss something that either I'm playing too quickly, or I just, I fall asleep in the middle of the hand, or I miss something for whatever reason that I shouldn't have, like that's, makes me feel like I had a really bad day. Like Jacob and I were playing in a match yesterday against a good team, and I felt like, we had 3 kind of bad scores, but all of the hands that we had bad scores on, Jacob and I, made pretty reasonable actions at every turn. So I didn't feel too bad about it.
We had good teammates.
Yeah, we won by 33, where we chose well in our teammates.
Another amateur team?
Playing with 2 Israeli juniors.
In what event?
The Bridge House World Championships.
So you guys 4-handed, or
we're 7? Yeah.
Oh, 7-handed.
What are the Israeli juniors' names?
Asaf and Amir.
They beat us in the Reynolds knockout. Those guys, I think.
Yeah, they're good. They play well. It's been nice teaming with them. They've played 2 matches so far, and they've had very good sets both times.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to team with them when I was playing with Les Moyles in the OCBL at the beginning of the year, and they had really good sets, and I enjoyed it. They were great teammates, so it's nice to team with them for another event.
And who's the rest of your team?
Catherine, May Todd, David Gervich, and Dennis Bield.
Dennis Bield?
Or is it? Did I mispronounce it? Okay.
Yeah.
Bielda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's just I wasn't expecting to hear. Actually, I think Catherine approached me about co-sponsoring this team.
Yeah, it's a spread out team, a lot of different walks of life.
Who's Dennis playing with?
He's mostly playing with Catherine, I think, but it's kind of like, I think Dennis and Catherine and David and are all kind of like doing some rotations and stuff, so it's not so clear.
This is like the event that like takes place over.
It lasts like a month.
How many matches do you play in the qualifying?
I think we're planning on playing like once a week for sure, and maybe another half a match or 20 boards, either playing together or playing with David or Dennis. Otherwise, like kind of just depending on how free we are.
You 2 are just playing with each other?
Well, mostly, but sometimes I think Jacob and I are planning on playing a set or 2 with David or Dennis, maybe.
Yeah, when our schedules don't align, we might split up and play with other players on the team.
But how many matches, I'm saying, for like the actual event, how many matches are there before they go to knockouts?
I don't have a clue. Let me check right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been very relaxed about this event. Just playing some matches, having fun. we're not super worried about it. But we've had a great start. We won by 37 and 33, so I think we're basically tied for first right now.
Who'd you beat by 33?
Compton and Andy Goodman, Joel Woolridge, and David Granger. Our teammates, with the ones we beat by 37, we beat one of your someone who was on your podcast, or two people that were on your podcast. Dave Caprera and Ann. Samantha Punch was playing with. I don't quite remember his name.
Pinkerton, Peterkin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Sprungs.
Aha. A mixed team. They're in the wrong event.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's like a transnationals. How many boards are you playing? 20.
So there's 14 rounds in total.
Did you play in the transnationals this last year?
No, I played in the transnationals in Lille, and we finished 10th. I played with Simon and Ferdine was my partner. We were at table 1 with 2 rounds to go. The top 8 make the knockouts. And
I see.
Yeah, I had a great attitude that event, actually. Like, I had like a totally great attitude, and it really helped.
Do you still have that attitude now, or have you shifted negatively?
I don't have it all the time. I definitely don't have it all the time. But Simon and Peter, those guys are really like they can do it. So I was just kind of like bringing my best mentality to the table. Like, really, like I was like, people were complaining. Like, Peter Ferdine was complaining about the conditions of contest. That only like the top 8 made it. And granted, we weren't part of the top 8, but like I just didn't I didn't let that get me down.
Yep. That's definitely a good attitude to go in with. I'm hoping there will be an opportunity in the future for Finn and I to participate in these events at some point. We haven't really had much, or at least I haven't had much experience playing in World Open competitions and the Europeans and Cavendish and whatnot. So we're hoping to maybe try this some more in the future.
Yeah, man, they're great events.
Yeah, it looks like they qualified 32 in this last transnationals. I was just taking a look. In Wuhan, they qualified 32, so you guys would have been comfortably in.
Really? They qualified 32, huh?
Yeah, although it's possible there are a lot more teams, right? I'll have to. I'm not sure how many teams.
I think there was 120 teams in our event.
And there was 118 in this one. So yeah, wow, qualifying 10 out of 100 or 8 out of 120 is like pretty steep.
This was the event where Andrew Robson bid 7 diamonds in the final of they had a Stamen auction. Like, his partner opened a no trump and he transferred, or him and David Gold transferred and then bid diamonds. He had like King, Queen, Jack of diamonds, and the only makeable Grand Slam was 7 diamonds. Did you guys ever see that?
No, I started playing bridge in 2017. So any famous hands that aren't like super famous enough to be famous through time, I haven't heard of.
Well, I'm going to put that in the show notes, and I'll also I'll send that hand to you guys.
Okay, sounds good.
Jacob, you had a series of questions and talking points. I'm going to hand over the hosting duty to you now.
Sounds good.
Okay, so actually you wrote some of the questions here in the Facebook chat. One of them is, what tourneys are your favorite?
I think probably the Vegas Nationals was my favorite so far, but Finn, do you want to weigh in here?
So you just mean like locations of U.S. Nationals or like type of tournament? Okay.
This was too long ago.
I think the U.S. Nationals are definitely my favorite. I mean, I like being at the European championships that last summer, but it's not the same because I don't know nearly as many people, and the events are great, but it just doesn't like feel as special, kind of. I also like I played in the transnational U21 World Championships, and I also really like that, but definitely I still like the nationals more. I just have way more friends, and I like the events more.
Yeah, the Worlds are certainly a cool experience as well. I haven't been to any of the European tournaments, so I imagine the field's quite strong there.
Yeah, it's strong, but you don't know who's strong and who's not as well, because there's a lot of these long names.
There's a lot of people and just at the table I don't recognize. I know who to fear in the United States, so maybe I shouldn't have that mentality.
John, with how you play, people should be fearing you, not the other way around.
That 3-0 jump contract.
Well, that doesn't even count. He had such bad opponents that he can't even brag about that one.
I'm trying to think what the other hands we played against you were.
I just looked at the other two. They were both push forwards. They couldn't have been too interesting because everybody had the same score.
So Finn, who's on your team for the Cavendish? If you had to make a team right now, anyone you want, who's on it?
All right, so Jacob, I'll think about mine. Why don't you answer first?
Well, I think I'd probably have to go with the same team as the online NABC.
That's because that's your only undefeated team.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that makes sense. Sounds good.
Is the Cavendish? Are they actually thinking that they're going to have it? Is that why you ask about that one specifically?
Mm-hmm.
They think they're going to have it in person?
I think they're planning on doing it in person. I don't know whether people will end up going to it or what the field's going to look like, but
yeah.
That was like the last tournament that they actually had, big tournament that they had before the world shutdown.
I thought that was okay, I guess it's kind of like the Cavendish, but wasn't it the European Winter Games?
Yeah, the Winter Games.
Yeah, and people made it sound like it was like weird being there and stuff, like at the Winter Games with the situation.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was weird.
Yeah, I went to my last tournament in Tucson, which was like mid-March, kind of like March 10th, and it was right when things were sort of like coming up, and when I got there, the handshakes had decreased, and people were using hand sanitizer, and I found out later that I actually played against someone who had coronavirus at the tournament, which was pretty weird.
Yeah, I went to the Vancouver regional, which was right before Tucson. I felt like it was just before people started to become aware of this. It wasn't like we still went out to restaurants, and there wasn't really much awareness of COVID then. So it's interesting to see how the situation has changed so much, and back then, especially in like a 2-week period.
And at that point, we still thought that we were probably going to have the spring nationals, but every day that passed, it started looking less and less like we were going to have spring nationals, which was sad. Jacob and I were going to play 8 days of the spring nationals.
Yeah, I think that's how we ended up deciding to play in this online NABC. Was we had intended to play in Columbus together, and we wanted to schedule another tournament in place of that.
Yeah.
Do you know if they're going to have what they're going to do for the fall nationals? Like if it's going to be different, just a pair event and knockout? Are they going to have the Risinger? Or?
Well, I mean, I would hope that they do it differently, I guess. But I think, so in this, they put it in the schedule on ACBL. They have online scheduled events 2020, but it's subject to change. So far, they're going to do it like they did last time, but there's still over 2.5 months. So they could easily change it and do something different. Especially they only announced the summer one 2 or 3 weeks before the event started. So I don't think that they care about, letting people know as soon as possible.
So are you guys both living at home?
Yeah, I'm living at home. What about you, Jacob?
I'm at school right now. It's all online, but we all just came to campus just in case it returns to class at some point.
What's the name of the school where you are, Jacob?
Western University. It's one of the biggest schools in Canada, but U.S. people only know UFT and McGill and whatnot.
Do you guys have sports teams?
We do, but all of the Canadian universities sports competitions are within the Canadian, not connected to the U.S. NCAA program.
Do you have any roommates, Jacob? Are you living by yourself, or?
I have 3 roommates, not roommates, housemates.
Yeah, housemates. So that's probably fun being able to hang out with them. That's what my sister's doing. She goes to college in Claremont, which is Southern California, a little bit more south of LA. There's no in-person classes, but she's living in Claremont with, I think 5 of her friends at a house, and I think it's, good for her to, even though it's not in person, to be around other people at the college.
We've actually already started planning a bit for the fall online NABC, so we're hoping to have the same success there.
Can you elaborate on that?
I talked to Bob and Bart about, maybe playing on the same team. It was a little bit too early for him, he said, but he said, he sounded like he was somewhat interested, and Bart said he was definitely interested. So hopefully we'll be able to play on the same team. Bob, he gave me a funny answer. He said, I wouldn't object to it. 3 months in the future is too much for an old guy like me.
Bob is a hilarious guy, man. That guy has lived a life. The stories that he has. He was telling me the other day about some guy who was like it's like you can't make up the stuff that he. I was wishing that I were recording it for this podcast, because he's just this guy was like a minute. This guy became like he was a gambler, and Bob made him out to be somewhat of a degenerate, but he became a minister so that he could have get a bingo license in Oregon. It's just like like where,
yeah.
And then he tells the story that some guy showed up in a 3-piece suit at his bingo event, and so that was like the first sign of caution. And the guy asked him, he said, "Are you so and so?" And he said, instead of saying, "No, I think he just left a couple of minutes ago. I told him that I in fact was that person." And he goes, "You have the right to remain silent."
Yeah. Well, that was one thing that made me a little bit sad, teaming with them in the online NABC. I got to, I talked to them on the phone a little bit, but playing on that team in person, you get to hear so many great stories. I haven't talked to Kid as much, but talking to Peter, Bart, and Bob, they all have so many great stories from the past, and I love hearing them, but it's not the same talking with them on the phone, Last year at a regional, I got to talk to Bob at dinner and listen to his stories, and it was really I've never had any experiences like that. It was amazing.
Something I learned recently actually was that Bob Hammond was he was portrayed in a movie by Dustin Hoffman. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Did you see the program, Finn?
No, I haven't heard that. Well,
it's about Lance Armstrong, because his company did some work with Lance and his sponsors. So it was cool to see Hammond be portrayed in that.
Was he portrayed well?
I was just paying attention to how cool it was to see someone we teamed with in a movie.
What's the name of the movie?
The Program.
Did they incorporate any of his bridge playing into the movie, or what was it? Just Mr. CEO Bob Hammond?
They did mention that he was a famous bridge player.
Nice.
Did he look like Bob at all?
Not really. No. Maybe at one point.
Finn, where do you think you want to go to college?
I haven't thought about it at all. That's not, now that I'm a junior in high school. That's what everybody asks me, but I definitely haven't thought about it at all.
I don't think Joe Grew graduated from college. You think you're on the same trajectory as Joe?
Well, hopefully, bridge playing wise, yeah, but not. I do plan on graduating college and then maybe try playing bridge.
Isn't your dad a college professor too?
He is, yeah. But no, both my parents are.
Oh, both.
My mom teaches English at the community college, and my dad teaches math, and so they both, yeah.
Is the fact that you want to go to college more a reflection of they want you to graduate from college, or do you actually want to graduate from college yourself?
I mean, it's a combination, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna weigh in here because a month ago, Finn was talking about not going to college once he graduates high school and just playing professional bridge. So his views have definitely changed over the past month or two, maybe.
Maybe Jacob, he's just offering his he's playing politically correct here. He knows his parents might listen to this.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to say that then.
Nah, that's fine. I'm not sure, but because I'm not. If I plan on playing bridge after college anyway, it's always like what's the. But I do think it's worthwhile, especially with my parents' influence.
I mean, I went as you guys can see, I'm wearing a University of Virginia hat. I went to the University of Virginia because I was I was going to go to college, but I went to the University of Virginia because I grew up in Charlottesville and I was such a fan of their sports teams that I couldn't imagine going anywhere else.
Yeah, if there were some good bridge teams at the colleges, then. But the problem with the collegiate teams is they have the collegiate championships at the summer nationals during another event. So even if I joined a college bridge team, I would always I would never pass up playing in a national event to play in the collegiate.
Kevin Rosenberg did. I mean, maybe he wasn't getting hired so much at that time, but
Kevin Rosenberg is playing it. He is incredibly good at bridge, but he doesn't like he's not a pro bridge player full time. He has a regular job and he plays some pro bridge on the side. So it's a little bit different, I think. So if I was still playing bridge like full time, it would be so like the summer nationals would be like a sizable thing. So it wouldn't like make too much sense, I don't think. I like competing against the best, and I think it would be like nice to play on the collegiate team, but I think it's a better experience to like try to compete for events.
Jacob, do you think about dropping out?
I thought about taking this year off school because how my program's structured, I would have been able to do that since I do 2 years in an economics degree and then 2 years in an honors of business administration program. So in between, you can take like a gap year, but how it worked out, my plans changed a lot, and I didn't see much benefit in taking this year off. Depending on where I'm at in a couple years, professional bridge then, if my game improves and my partnership with Finn or someone else continues to grow, and depending on what Finn does at that point as well.
Jacob, he's a great bridge player, but he's even better at like, making deals and stuff. He's excellent at that. He makes things happen.
So you could be like a sponsor.
That's the goal.
Ridiculous team, Jacob is a playing sponsor.
Yeah, that's what my mom has told me. My mom has told me, Jacob, he's getting his business degree. He's gonna make the big bucks and then hire himself the 5 best players in the game.
Yeah, I think probably the longevity of the professional bridge career right now isn't gonna be around. I think we're gonna see careers in bridge still be possible, but it's gonna transition to looking a bit differently.
I agree. Specifically in the US, because in other countries it may not change that much, but specifically in the US, having pros travel to like regionals every week to play pro, it's great for them right now, but it's probably the regionals are getting smaller, and it's not necessarily going to work out that way long term for the best players in the game. I don't think the game is going to die, so there'll still be a way to play pro. Is my opinion.
I think that's kind of affected my decision a lot about going to school and getting a business degree before I decide to play any professional bridge if I were to do that.
Yeah, just like the question of like whether or not you can really make a good living as a professional bridge player 10, 20 years from now is very much in doubt.
Yeah. John, what event are you playing in next other than the Schaefer game?
I was talking to some former teammates of mine about the online NABC. They're looking to get hired, and they're fun to play with. So I'm just...
And you're looking to finish second in that?
I would be delighted to finish second.
All right, we'll see you in the finals.
I've never won. Like, I don't know what my best, coming 10th in the transnationals is right up there for me and my best result.
All right. Well, you'll do better you'll have a better result in the online NABC then.
Well, okay. I mean, you guys are just the prognosticators. You're just
we're the cheerleaders for you, John.
You're going to bless me with this great result. So anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming together. You guys make me look good. Great stuff to share and talk about, and you're interesting. Anything else you guys want to add before we finish up here?
I don't think so. Jacob and I are looking forward to beating you in the Schaefer game tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll have a good round against you guys to cement it, but I'll have to see. Are you and Bob playing Flannery?
We're going to talk for an hour and 15. We're going to start talking an hour and 15 minutes before game time. So I've never played Flannery before, I don't think.
Are you going to play for Bob?
If he wants to, I mean, sure, why not? Steve Weinstein likes it.
I play Flannery with Bart. It's a new experience. The first time I played with him, it went 2 diamonds, and then Bart realized based on the auction that I'd forgotten Flannery, so we were still able to bid up to 5 diamonds after I opened 2 diamonds. That was fun.
Yeah, I have a similar Flannery story. I was playing with Boris Barron. Do you know him, John?
Yes, I do know Boris. He was friends with Middleman, or he is friends with Middleman.
Yeah, so really nice guy. He can be a bit intimidating to play with, but he loves Flannery and insisted on playing Flannery. So I opened 2 diamonds on like the first hand out, and I never had played Flannery before, so I was definitely gonna forget this. So I had diamonds, shockingly. He bid 2 no trump. I bid 3 diamonds. He bid 3 hearts. I bid 4 diamonds. He bid 4 hearts. Then I gave up and passed with my singleton heart. I was hoping by now he would have got the message that I had forgotten Flannery. Anyway, so he had like 3 or 4 hearts himself, and we were favorable on the hand. So it ended up being a great save because they were cold for 4 hearts. So it was like win 5.
That's
or
like
something.
I was watching the Bob Ham when Bob addresses the team for the in Double Dummy, like the footage, and he says the worst trump suit to make a slam is like 2 doubletons. You can make a slam with 2 doubletons in the trump suit, but it has to be like ace anyway.
Have you read Adventures in Card Play, John?
Yeah. I just started going through it again, actually.
If you read Adventures in Card Play, I think there's a few ones like that. I've been enjoying the book. I've had it for a while, but I don't have that much time to read. And whenever I read it, I have to go pretty slowly because to really understand all the positions, it takes a lot of time. And like you can't just read like 50 pages of the book without being like completely exhausted. So I've been slowly enjoying the book. I like it.
All right, guys, this has been great.
Thank you so much.
Bye, John. Talk soon.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye.
I actually had 2 conversations with Finn and Jacob because unfortunately I forgot to press record during our original conversation, which took place on August 16th. So we had a follow-up conversation, which is what you just listened to on September 10th. And the original conversation is what you're going to hear starting now. I'm with 2 rising star junior bridge players, Finn Kolesnik and Jacob Freeman. How do you say, like, it kind of doesn't roll off the tongue, like it's very easy to say, well, we won the event or I got second in the event. But like, what's it like? How do you say that you tied the NAOBC Knockout?
I say that we won the event along with the Levine team. To me, it's winning the event.
We were the co-champions of the event.
Co-champions. Who was the first person that you called?
Well, the first person I called, Jacob and I were talking most of the time, but Bob gave me a call right after. So Bob, he's incredibly smart, but he's not so good at the technology part of it. So Bob was on BBO and he saw the imp tally on there and he tallied them up and he said, we won by 1, Finn. We picked up 13 imps this set. And I said, well, actually, Bob, we picked up 12 imps, so we tied. He said, no, I counted 13. So he started recounting, and eventually he counted to 12, and he said, holy shit, we tied.
So this was the event being showed on delayed view graph, so you weren't getting your actual scores at the end of the...
Yeah, so it was on delayed view graph, but we can go to My Hands on BBO and check the result right as it is released. Or they would just call us and tell us the result.
So what was it like for you guys watching? You're sitting out this 4th quarter. You're stuck like, what was it, 33 with 4 boards to go?
Well, the journey was not... Jacob and I were not nervous because we had sat out the last 3 days in the final quarter and we had been watching them. I think they were down at least 2 of the nights. One of the nights I think they were down all 3 of the nights going into the last quarter. And, the 2 pairs that they were playing against each night were all world class. So we have great teammates, but it's hard to be confident that your teammates are definitely going to beat 4 of the best players in the world down some number of imps. But 3 nights in a row, they had won. Every night, Bob and Peter had amazing sets, and Kid and Bart were really solid, and they bid their slams. They played this great relay system, so they were able to get to a lot of good slams. And by that night, it was just like, if we lose, this has been ridiculous, but we were pretty sure they were going to win.
Yeah, that said, I think with about 5 hands to go on the delayed view graph, I called Finn and I was like, yeah, there's like no chance here. We were stuck 28 imps at that point or something. And we had so much faith in our teammates after what they've done the last few nights at this point. But like, you just need to be dealt the hands to pick up 28 attempts, and sometimes you're just not dealt those hands against top players in the world. But they made the hands, so it was amazing to see the final 5 scores come in and realize that somehow they managed to tie and pick up 28 attempts against Meckwell and Helgamo Helnes in the last 5 hands or 4 hands.
How did it look like? I looked at a couple of the days. You guys were playing the first 2. How did you decide the lineups?
I was captaining the team and I was corresponding with them. The situation was every day we do a rotation. So the first 3 sets, every pair plays 2 matches. And then the 4th set, we put in who we think is playing well or who wants to play. You know, with some teams, that philosophy is whoever's playing well might go badly, but everybody on our team was happy to, you know, sit out, or nobody was. It was never an issue. So the first night, the Thursday night, was the only night it was up in the air whether Jacob and I would play the 4th quarter, because Kid and Bart had some bad luck earlier, and Jacob and I were feeling good, so we were considering playing. But you know, we decided for the 4th quarter we should just put our 2 most experienced pairs in. So when we want to win, I have a lot of confidence in Jacob and me, but I think that it wasn't the best decision to put us in.
Yeah, I think teaming with these 4 Hall of Famer teammates who've had established partnerships, part of the opportunity was having them play in the 4th quarter, and after they managed to come back against the Gupta team, we've just felt they kind of deserved to keep playing in the 4th quarters after this for the rest of the matches, assuming they wanted to. And they just kept winning in the 4th, so it was amazing to watch.
When I saw your name on the team, Finn, I thought it was sort of like that the old guys kind of like just did it as sort of a nod to you. But you were telling us earlier that you and Jacob really put this team together.
Yeah, Jacob and I put the team together. I called Bob and asked him if he wanted to play on a team with Jacob and I, and Bob said sure.
Did Bob know there was a NABC online knockout coming up when you called him?
I don't think so, because when we asked them, actually, it hadn't super officially been released. Everybody knew that it was coming, because on Bridge Winners there were some threads that suggested that this was happening, but the ACBL hadn't released that it was coming. Jacob and I, you know, we really wanted to go in with a team we were happy with and going on a fun team, so we were trying to put it together as early as possible so we'd have time.
And Jacob, you were kind of egging Finn on to call Bob. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think about a month before the event, me and Finn had talked about what the optimal situation was in terms of teammates for us, and we came up with Bob, Peter, Kit, and Bart. So I, at one point, called Bart and asked if him and Kit would be interested. I kind of suggested Finn call Bob, and there was nothing that could go wrong by asking. Since Finn and I were our juniors, they're not going to be rude about it, so it couldn't really hurt. And Bob and Peter were very respectful and decided to agree to mentor us in this event. So.
Well, to be clear, these people, if anybody asked them to team, that they're incredibly nice guys. They would not be rude to anyone. But Peter was the one person that I didn't really know before this event. I've played with Bart before and teamed with Bob in a regional event at the Nationals. And
in San Fran, yeah.
And I'd played with Kid online before also. So I knew all 3 of them, but Peter I hadn't met. And Peter was, you know, very friendly, and I learned his sleep schedule. He goes to bed at 3 a.m. every night, and he said, feel free to give me a call at 2 a.m. if you have anything you want to talk about or ask about. So I really enjoyed meeting Peter.
Tell me about the conversation with Bob. Had you ever called Bob on the phone before?
I talked with him a little bit. Bob called me on my birthday to wish me happy birthday. I think, you know, we were talking a little bit. Bob really just likes to talk on the phone. He's not like an email guy. He answers emails quickly, but he's super charismatic and sociable, and he likes to talk to people. So that's how we'd been in contact before.
And so did you just get right to it when you called him up about the...
Yeah. I just said, hey Bob, would you be interested in teaming with me and Jacob? I think it would be really fun if you wanted a team. And you said, yes, I'd love to. That was exactly what I wanted to hear. I was nervous and hyping myself up. Do it. And then Bob came out saying that. So that was nice.
Did you have to say this is Finn Kolesnik when he answered?
I didn't. He said, hey Finn. I can't imitate his voice very well, but it sounds something like that.
Were you guys doing Zooms after every segment as a team?
No, I was calling them. I think Jacob might have been calling them or messaging with Peter, but doing the Zoom with them, I'm sure they all wanted to get to doing other things, and getting all them on Zoom would have been difficult. Kid and Bart are both good at Zoom, but Peter and Bob had some technical difficulties along the way.
So Jake, tell us again about when you saw Finn at the Toronto NABC and went up to him.
Yeah, so the first time I met Finn, he was playing in a Gold Rush game at the Nationals with his mother, and I was playing in the same game with my father. And I think Finn and his mom ended up getting like 65% average that day and maybe winning or coming second or something like that. And I was trying to expand the number of junior partners I had to learn from. So I went up after, congratulated him on the good game, and asked if he wanted to play on BBO sometime. And we exchanged contact information, and the rest is kind of history. I think at the Philadelphia Nationals the next year, we saw each other there and communicated a lot, and Finn did really well in that. So then we agreed to play together in the Memphis Nationals the following spring. Finn, want to add on there?
Yeah, so I think we agreed to play in the Memphis Nationals after, talking about it. We played in the Kingston Regional. We didn't play together, but we played on a team, and I think we might have played one segment together. So
the one where you doubled the 6-hurt contract.
Well, that was in the. We also played one segment, I think, in the actual KO. But
do you remember the Gold Rush game in the Kingston Regional?
Mm-hmm.
This was funny, yeah. So after our second win in the KO against the Pepsi team, we decided to play one session game in the side game there. Sorry, in the Gold Rush game.
Yeah. We decided to play in the side game, but the side game didn't make. So the Gold Rush game was the only game to play in.
Yeah, they wouldn't let us enter the open game, I don't think, so we just played in the Gold Rush, and we ended up averaging like 48% or something. So we've come a long way since then.
Well, I invented a system for that event in about 10 minutes, which involves some very exciting things. And that had something to do with our 48% game.
I mean, you guys were asking about being on the show in San Francisco. Like, what's it like actually being on the show? Is a little underwhelming?
No, I really enjoy the show, and I've listened to, I think, almost every episode. I've really enjoyed it. I think you do a great job with the podcast, and you've just been getting better as you've gone on with it.
Well, I think I'm regressing, but thank you for those compliments. I feel like I've sort of haven't really fully prepared for you guys. What was it like, Finn? Your dad is a friend of mine. What was it like for you when you tied for first in the NAOBC? Like, what was that moment like when you and your dad, when you realized, that you had done this?
Well, my dad is my greatest cheerleader. He was watching the whole time and came in to get me water, to get me a snack, and he was cheering us on. My dad was really happy for me, and we went to go celebrate and get a nice dinner after that. So my dad was super supportive. Yeah.
What about you, Jacob? Your father, it sounds like he was a 299er at one point. Is he still not a life master?
He isn't. I'm trying to play with him in sectionals and regionals when I can to try and help him get the gold and silver points. And soon enough, I think he'll have his life master.
Who were you celebrating winning? I mean, like, was it a celebration? Did you feel like the fact that it was a tie and not an outright win? Did that add some sort of ambiguity to maybe the elation that you might feel for winning such a major event?
I think the tie was actually one of the optimal scenarios, since the first national event Bob won was like 58 years ago, and that ended in a first-second tie as well. So Bob was really happy with the result in this event, and it's nice to tie such a good team.
Right.
Like, there's no one you'd rather tie than Meckwell and Helnis Helgamo in the finals, and Eddie Wold, of course. So that was really nice. I think it was a bit sad as well that because we look back on every hand where we could have held an imp and kind of was a bit disappointed, but still, I'm sure if we won by one or something, the other team would have felt really bad about this. It was a great result for us, and yeah, the celebration was fun afterwards. Unfortunately, we can't go out anywhere, but my family still did something here, and I made sure to call our teammates after, and they were all thrilled with the results. So
Yeah, so for me, I mean, it's difficult, whenever you don't win, and you always want to win by more, you always want to win, or at least that's my attitude. But coming first, second, if we'd lost, there still would have been a celebration. Just making it that far, it was already a great accomplishment for me. And also, like, whenever mentality I've learned a little bit through playing more, in bridge, you're always going to lose a lot more than you win, even if you're really, really good. So obviously I'm used to losing, but I've kind of taught myself just to make the losses worse. And when I win, try to really enjoy the wins and not, feel bad about could be playing better. I want to learn from the things I could do better, but I want to enjoy the win as much as I can and not be worried about how I could have done better in this event.
I think when I started out playing with Finn, he used to really, even if we won, he would hate the hands he messed up. But now he's kind of learned to appreciate winning a bit more. I would say that's been one of his biggest improvements.
You think that's why he's really starting to get such great results, Jacob? That he's got a more even-keeled attitude towards the game?
Definitely, your attitude and perspective towards the game really plays a big role into how you do. And yeah, just how you play is going to be affected by the attitude you come to the table with. So certainly, this has been a big part of how we're trying to improve as a partnership.
Have you evolved? Like, did you used to give, like, I know that with professional partners of mine in the past, I've been pretty hard on them when they make like a losing decision. And that's an area where I've improved. Is that something that you guys are much more conscientious about?
Well, I think Jacob, he's learned very, very good manners. When I started playing bridge, I was even more of a little punk. So I would play with my dad, and my dad was a really good player, and I was a novice, and I would be a jerk to him or a jerk to my mom. But I have worked really hard at getting better about that, because that's definitely not who I want to be as a person, and especially be at the bridge table.
Finn, when I saw you like in San Francisco at the last live NABC that we had, I remember you did really well in the 2-day, I think it was the Life Master pairs. Is that right?
Yeah, I came fourth, and Jacob also had his highest finish in that event, which at the time was 8th. So we were all happy with that event. Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize you were in the top 10 as well. Jacob, who did you play with in that event?
I was playing with Daniel Levy, who's currently my partner for the Canadian national team trials this year. Yeah, so we were actually, I think, 5th or 4th or something with a round to go, and in the last round we got completely fixed on the 2 hands. So it was kind of a bittersweet result. I think at one point we thought we had a chance to maybe make the top 3, but we were definitely happy with the result. It was my best one at that point. So
I have a good story about that result. So after I came 4th, for me at the time, that was an amazing achievement. Even now, I'd be happy with that. I'm sure, coming top 5 in any national event is great, but I was super happy about it. And so everybody congratulated me, and it was so nice. But the one person who didn't, I was talking to Hammond, and he about coming 4th, and he said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. Because I didn't win." So he that was a compliment of him, honestly, saying, it's too bad that you didn't win or you didn't come higher. But to me, that was kind of funny at the time. So that I'd been congratulated by everybody, but talking to Hammond, he was telling me, "Oh, I'm sorry." So I talked to Jeff about this, Hampson, and gave him a guessing game. I said, "Who do you think consoled me for my coming 4th?" And Hampson said he didn't have a good guess. I maybe just didn't want to guess. So I told him it was Hammond, and he said, that's a big compliment, and I'm sure he's right. soon you're gonna be having much higher finishes. So later, when we came third in the blue ribbon pairs, Jeff came up to me and he said, "Oh, I was right."
I remember Finn because I know you a little bit, and I became friends with your dad in Tromsø. I remember when I saw that you finished your fourth in the Life Master pairs. I remember thinking, well, that was the Soloway's now happening during that, so it wasn't quite the event that maybe it would be otherwise. And frankly, I was a little jealous. And then you finished third in the blue ribbons, and you put a fix on me and my partner. You bid 3-no trump on one hand without a stopper in the suit that I think my strongest suit. And so silly me.
Well, I mispitched on one hand against your partner, and a suit was good and dummy. All 13 cards of it. He had the 12, the 11, 12, and 13th card in the suit or something, and he didn't realize they were good, so he stopped running them.
Oh man, to have the success that you've had, Finn, at such a young age. You started playing bridge in Toronto just a little bit more than 2 years. I mean, like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, I've been lucky. I was talking about, in the last recording, I played with my dad for a lot and improved that way. I had, more mentors, but in recently, now that it's been online, I've basically made it my goal to learn from whoever's willing to teach me. So namely Jeff Hampson. For a while, I was playing with him twice a week online and, emailing him or calling him about the hands and, trying to learn everything I can from him. Eddie Wold, for a while, I was also playing about once a week with Eddie. Pacell, we've still been playing several times a week together. Bobby Levin, I was able to play with him twice. So I've had a ridiculous amount of opportunities for me being able to get better through mentorship.
Like, what's something you've learned from one of these guys recently?
Listening to Hampson, how he thinks about hands, and all these guys, of course, just like, listening to them, how they think about the hands, what I can do better always. Yeah. And Kevin Rosenberg also, I forgot to mention him. I've been playing with him a lot, and he's not as experienced as them, but he's an incredibly good player, and yeah. I've learned a lot from him also.
What about you, Jacob? Are you sitting over here with like me going, man, I wish I were getting some lessons from those guys too?
I mean, I've had the opportunity to also play with some very strong people, and this has been great. I think everyone has something unique that they've learned along the way that they can offer, whether it's about bridge analysis, or even like how to get the best game out of yourself and your partner at the table. I think everyone, no matter really their skill level, anyone who's been playing a lot longer than me can offer me something. So I tried to, no matter the level of person I'm playing with, pick up a bit along the way from everyone. But definitely, I am somewhat jealous of the people Finn's had the opportunity to play with.
We played one speedball on BBO. I didn't give you my best game, unfortunately, Jacob. I was happy. I was delighted to play with you, and we've been trying to fix another date, but haven't managed to get that booked yet.
Hopefully, we'll find a time at some point. It's nice to finally be on the setting trick now. I know we talked about this for a while too. So now that this is out of the way, we can play. My schedule is free. Over the past few months, I was just waiting to be on this podcast.
Well, you asked about it in San Francisco, and it was sort of like a lark almost, to me at least. And then Finn almost won the blue ribbon pairs. So like now that you guys co-winners of the NAOBC, you've earned your place. This is not some fluff job. I mean, this is like you absolutely deserve to be here. Not that I'm saying like the podcast is necessarily like some like you have to have credentials, but you guys really like. It was funny because Dave Caprera, as I've talked to Finn about this, Dave Caprera had said in one of the threads like that they were his pick to win, and because I didn't play in the event, I wasn't really watching it that closely. But then next thing I know, there you guys are, and it's just like, wow, this is kind of eerie that Dave picked you guys, and yeah, you did it.
I think Dave, he's really involved in the junior training program, so he's always rooting for Jacob and I. He's He's mentored me in the past also. He's a great coach, I think. I think he was super grateful to Kid and Bart and Bob and Peter for teaming with us. He wants us juniors to do well, and he thought it was a great opportunity for us to play with them. So, he was really rooting for us all the way. Yeah, David's great.
Can you tell us a little bit about like the difference between playing with Jacob and your other partner, Michael? Do you call him Michael too, or just Michael Zoo?
I call him.
I call him Michael Rosenberg too.
You call Michael Zoo Michael Rosenberg, Jacob?
Yeah. If you ever want to know what Michael Rosenberg would do on a hand, you can always ask Michael Shu if Michael Rosenberg's busy.
Well, so for that, I really enjoy playing with both of them, both Jacob and Michael. They're definitely very different bridge players. So Michael, I think, not played nearly as much bridge as Jacob. So the way that he's learned has been totally different, and I can tell that. So when Jacob or I, when we make a decision, we've played a lot of hands in these last few years since we've been playing seriously. So a lot of it just comes from experience. But Michael, almost everything that he does is what he learns from Michael Rosenberg, and he tries to apply those principles. So for him, it's almost more of an analytical approach that Michael has to the game. Whereas, Jacob is definitely, more experienced. Both good players in their own right. Michael is a little bit more thoughtful, again, because of the less experience, but also both of them are very good partners. They never complain about any of the terrible plays I make, which I like.
Jacob, what do you think Finn's best attribute as a partner is?
Let me think about that for a minute. I think his card play is really good, and obviously he's very talented as a bridge player. But aside from that, he's also just doesn't complain at all and he's always smiling. And he's sometimes not as nice as he could be to the opponents, but he's got a lot better at that over the years, and he's definitely a great partner to play with. It makes you very comfortable in your decisions, knowing he's not gonna get mad about anything.
Is there a hand you can think of from the event that you thought you guys did really well on?
We didn't have any write-up hands, I would say, necessarily, but I thought there were a lot of hands where Jacob and I defended well, stuff like that. I'm sure, the hands that we defend well, I probably think about less than the hands. I feel terrible about me playing too quickly and making the wrong play, or getting a play wrong that I should have gotten right. So I don't even remember the ones we get right as much. What about you, Jacob? Do you remember any?
I think the one hand that really jumped out at me, given our limited agreements, was when we bid 6 clubs on the first day or something. It might have been the second day. We had an auction where For No Trump became last train, and then we were able to find a pretty good 6 club spot there. So that was nice to have that agreement. There wasn't really any spectacular hands. A lot of those came from our teammates. We just tried to play solid bridge throughout, and I think mostly we were able to do this. Finn tends to focus on his mistakes too much rather than realizing how many things he did well throughout. I'm sure there's a lot of hands he played just terrific in there that he might not remember as much.
How do you guys go through the hands after a session, like a day of bridge?
We didn't really even go over the hands very much from the NAOBC because we were always in the heat of the event and we wanted to focus on doing better for the next day, preparing. We weren't really caught up. I mean, if we had any important partnership misunderstandings, we tried to talk about it. Previous week, 2 weeks, we played in Bridge House events, which you also played in, John, and we worked on a lot of our agreements in that, and we also played in a match versus the French junior team, and for that, we called and we discussed all the partnership aspects of each hand. We try not to focus on each other's mistakes, like where it doesn't have to do with partnership. If one of us we say we just make a bad bid, or we know how we should have played this better. We try to learn from each other when we can, but I think it's mostly just us working on improving on our own, or maybe even from outside sources. So
we've talked a lot about this recently, like what's going to allow us to improve the most as a partnership. And I think what we ended up deciding on is just having discussions about where we could have done better as a pair in the bidding, or how we could have made the defense easier for each other, rather than looking at some of the hands we messed up the card play individually, since we both have the ability to figure those out after the fact.
Jacob, if you were the host of this podcast, what question would you be asking Jacob Freeman?
How do you convince Finn to play with you in this?
How did you two guys decide to, I mean, I know you said, Finn, you said in our previous conversation, you guys have been on and off partners. Like,
yeah,
how did you decide to play the NAOBC then together?
So I heard that the event was coming up. I don't really have like too many regular partners that I like to play with. I mean, this was at the point I had been playing with Michael a decent amount, Michael Zhu. And I was, thinking about whether I should play in this with him. We were originally planning on playing the Summer Nationals, but I kind of realized that Michael, even though he's really talented, he's so busy with other things that he doesn't really have time to focus on playing all these big events. So I definitely wasn't going to be playing with him. And I really like playing with Jacob. So I wanted to ask him. We hadn't played in a while, but I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to see how we'll work as a partnership, especially, that was just my thinking. So I called him and I asked him if he wanted to play, and Jacob, mulled it over a little bit and eventually said yes.
Jacob, how long did you mull it over for?
A few weeks. I tried to find someone else, and then I realized I was probably stuck here and had to just play with Finn in this. And yeah.
You're being facetious when you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's three-way Drury?
I don't know.
You don't play that?
I actually stopped playing that now, since I was convinced of just trying to use simpler agreements and focusing a lot on the card play and bidding judgment. And going into this event, I think Finn and I at one point had 40 pages of system notes, and we cut them down to 5 pages.
Wow.
Well, when you say cut them down, we got rid of notes. So Jacob and I both have a lot of agreements from our previous partnerships, and we kind of called and discussed what we wanted to play. But I think that we shouldn't have had this approach, but we kind of had the approach that because the event was open notes, that we can just play a lot of stuff and then look at our notes. But I wasn't really that comfortable with it anyways, because I didn't want to have to worry about reading the notes when I want to just be focusing on my judgment. I think eventually we both decided for the better that, especially once we figured it probably was not open notes, that we should just make new notes and try to make them simple agreements that we'll both remember and that we're both comfortable with.
That's pretty amazing. You only had 5 pages of notes and you co-won the event. Is that something you guys would be willing to make available? Like we could share on the website what your notes are?
Yeah, we could, but they're really, well, I guess Jacob cleaned them up a lot. But when we first made the notes, until I think the second half of the event, we had maybe 3 pages of notes with a bunch of random things typed up. But then Jacob finally, and me we went through the effort of organizing them to the where I could actually call them notes.
When did you guys start thinking that you might actually win the event?
On the last hand.
I started thinking that we might actually win the event once I called the greatest bridge player of all time, and he agreed to team with us.
You read his book recently. Was that before the event?
I started reading it before the event, or as the event was starting, kind of. But I finished the book last week, and I really enjoyed the event, just hearing about his approach towards the game and how he's won so much. I really liked the book. Yeah, I thought it was really well written also.
When you and your dad are hanging out, Finn, what percentage of the conversation is bridge related?
80. That's just a guess, but that's what I would estimate it at. I mean,
what's the other 20?
The other 20 is like talking about whether we're going to go on a bike ride or what we're going to have for dinner or snack on.
Are you guys still playing Barbu?
I was playing a lot for maybe a month to 2 months, but I basically quit. I think in the last few months, I've maybe played 5 games of Barbu, maybe a little bit less.
I played a lot a couple months ago, but once a lot of the other juniors stopped playing, I kind of also stopped. I wouldn't mind playing a bit more now, but I kind of took up chess for a bit, and I'm really bad at that. I'm worse than ever in chess than I am at bridge. It's amazing.
Jacob, I don't think you can really describe yourself as being worse at bridge. Worse than chess than bridge is there's a lot of room for being bad in that gap. It seems like maybe not such a great metaphor.
Yeah,
can you beat Harrison Luba in chess?
No way.
I beat Finn a few times, so
Jacob can beat me easily, but Harrison is actually pretty competent at chess.
yeah, I can beat anyone who's not competent, pretty much.
Do you play on chess.com?
I do.
What's your rating?
I don't know.
How do you not know what your chess rating is?
It's terrible.
Come on. I'm 1120 right now.
I'm like half of that.
Oh my gosh.
No.
But you can't be half of that, right? Because you start out at 1,000.
You started out at 800.
You start out lower than 1,000.
Oh, okay.
For the fall nationals, you think they're going to do the same format, or you think that's going to be a lot more events than just the pairs and the knockout? Any ideas?
Well, I think they're going to do it the same thing as they did here, but if I would like it if they just made it like a nationals, like the same schedule as a nationals, but online. I'm not sure if that's realistic, but I think that would be fun, playing it. It would make it feel more like a nationals instead of just a big online tournament.
And if they gave out seeding points, that would also be nice.
I mean, is it fair to say that this is both of your best bridge result?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely our best bridge result, I'm sure. It's a little bit different because for me, coming third in the blue ribbon pairs was a great achievement. So this result was a far better result, but I felt like I had less to do with it because I only played half of each match and Jacob carried me. He played very well, and I played pretty well until the semifinals and the finals. I played poorly those 2 days. So this is a way better result. It had less to do with me than the blue ribbon pairs.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it when you came in third in the blue ribbon pairs. I was like, wow, man, kid, 16 years old?
Yeah, I was 15 at the time, so now
15.
I'm 16.
Wow, I learned how to play bridge when I was 18. Also with my parents. My mom and dad still play bridge, but very much recreationally. Like they mostly play on Bridge Baron, like on their iPads, and sometimes we'll play.
Did your parents teach you, or
sort of? So they knew how to play. So we used to play hearts, and my aunt suggested that we should try bridge. And I was a little like, I don't know. And then when we played it, I loved it. For the first probably 7 years of my bridge playing career, I only played bridge at home with my parents. And then my sister had some friends that needed a fourth for a bridge class. And then that woman introduced me to duplicate. And then, duplicate, it's just a whole nother thing. And it didn't occur to me, like I lived in New York City after I graduated from college, and it didn't occur to me to go, that honors was like 2 blocks from where I lived. And it didn't even occur to me to go, look for a bridge game. I just thought it was something that I knew to do at home.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
honors is really expensive, so you might $33 a session.
But that's part of the reason that I made the movie, is because it's like, if my aunt hadn't suggested that I learn to play bridge, then I don't know that I ever would have. You guys, like just having a conversation with you guys here. I mean, there's so many bridge players that have just made my life is so much more interesting because of bridge for me. That's why I made the movie. That's part of the reason why I do this podcast. Is I like sharing, I like hearing your stories, and I also like being able to share that with the broader community. And you never know, like one person might hear this, like how much of an impact it can make on their life to learn the game.
For sure. I mean, a few years ago, I wanted nothing to do with bridge, but once I decided to learn, just because like that $300 that was offered by my district, that's what got me playing. And if it weren't for and now it's my whole life. All my friends are bridge players, and I play bridge all the time. I think about bridge all the time. It was life-changing.
Do you have young people in Ventura to play with?
No. When I say my friends, I mean, it's all like not friends I see that much, but I go to as many tournaments as I can. So obviously not right now. It's all virtual friends.
Yeah. Finn, who's better? Are you a lot better than your sister?
That's an off-limits subject.
Well, yeah.
Jacob, go ahead.
I tried to recruit Emma for the online NABC, but I ended up with Finn once.
Emma is also Emma's a very good bridge player, and she works hard. She's a good partner. I enjoy playing with her when I have the chance. Definitely a fun experience. Maybe some mixed pairs coming up for us in the future if it ends up working out that way.
But do you think you've passed her by?
Again, off limits, buddy. Come on.
What about
Question for Finn. Just having a brother who doesn't play bridge, how do you think having siblings that play bridge has impacted, I guess, your interest in why you study the game? Has this had any impact on your interest in the game?
I mean, for the last year and a half, it hasn't, because I've just fallen in love with the game and the community that the game has. So it hasn't then. But when I was first playing, I wanted to compete with my sister, which is not, any an emotion I hold at all anymore. But I wanted to be better than my older sister at bridge, and I wanted to have more master points than her. But that hasn't been an incentive for me after I was a novice at all. So,
Jacob, how many siblings do you have?
Just an older brother.
And he's not interested?
No, he's more focused on like music, and that's he tried to play the game at one point but didn't have much interest in it. I think he lost interest after a few hours of trying to learn it.
And does your mom play as well?
She plays a bit. She's been trying to take up the game recently, and they've been playing with family and friends. Both my parents have been during this pandemic.
And are your parents, you co-won this event? Like, what do they think about that?
They were very impressed. They don't really understand the level of competition in the event, but they were definitely understood what winning this event meant, and that it was an accomplishment. They kind of recognize some of the names by now, so when I say Bob Hammond, they know who that is. And Meckwell, when I talk about, they kind of have a sense of who these people are, but some of the pairs they just don't know, so it doesn't mean much. But obviously they were proud of our success in the event.
Yeah, for getting new people to play. I mean, a lot of my, like my cousins or, other young people my age, I've definitely want them to learn. I know how much it's changed my life and how great of a game I think it is, so I want them to. But there's a big hump, just with learning. But I think anybody that loves solving problems and loves puzzles, I think bridge will be great for them. So I think definitely for those type of people, bridge will be, very addicting, more fun than anything, really. Definitely that's my target when I want to teach people bridge.
Did you post on your Facebook, that you won this event?
No.
My mom made a post.
They can find out. It's an accomplishment for me. If they see, then cool.
Finn, who's better, you or your dad?
Come on, John. This is ridiculous.
What do you think, John? Who do you think's better?
I've never played with either one of them.
Well, my dad has told me a story a few times about when my dad first met John. They met in Tromsø, and I came to Norway after that, but I left a little bit later with my grandma, so I wasn't actually there, but I was in Norway later. And my dad was going on a hike with John in Tromsø, and John told my dad, "All right, I'm gonna hire you for the blue ribbon pairs." So
no, that's not. I never said that.
Okay, I'm gonna play with you in the blue ribbon pair. I don't remember.
We talked about playing an event together. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess the story changes every time I hear it. So they talked about playing in the blue ribbon pairs, whatever the situation was. So then my dad started talking about how through the years he's played with all these different partners, and because a lot of them were old, a lot of them have started dying off. So John, he rethinks his proposition to playing an event with your dad. He says, "Is it okay, Alex, if we don't play in the blue ribbon pairs?"
This is true. I was thinking about telling the story. I was considering telling the story. I remember I was talking to my acupuncturist about it. I'm like, yeah, this guy kills his bridge. Are you guys getting interest though from sponsors? Like, are people approaching you like now that, particularly that you've won this event? You've co-won this event. I'm sorry, I can't say you won this event. You've co-won this event. Like, are you starting, or even before that, are you getting interest from sponsors?
So going into this event, when there was supposed to be the Montreal Nationals, actually had plans to play as a fifth person on Gary Donner's team. I would be playing with Cecilia Rimstead half the time, and Gary would be playing the other half. And then we had Marion and Pirola. I might be mispronouncing their names, but that was going to be a cool opportunity, but obviously no regrets about how this worked out. Yeah, so that came up from teaming with Gary, Anam, and Yoko in the Roth last summer in Las Vegas. Then me and Finn had something planned for the Columbus Nationals. We were planning to play together there professionally in the Vanderbilt at one point, and then in the pair games in Swiss on like an amateur team.
So you were playing in the Swiss for the last weekend, and I was going to play with Ron Smith in the fast pairs on last weekend, or in the Swiss, where maybe if Ron found us some teammates. Yeah, so and I was also, me and Michael Zhu were going to be getting hired for the Spin Gold this summer if it happens. So, I mean, a little bit. I think Jacob more than me, because Jacob is a lot better than me reaching out to people and getting to know people. I'm not as good at that. So Jacob, for sure.
What was your first professional engagement, Jacob, as a bridge player?
I played a bit just locally with people, but I don't really play professionally that much. The situation with Team Donner just kind of came about through playing on an amateur team. Last summer, we ended up surpassing expectations in that event. So Gary offered me the opportunity to then team in the Montreal and Tampa Bay Nationals. Unfortunately, neither of those happened, but hopefully there will be more opportunities for Finn and I to potentially play on professional teams at some point, but also to continue playing on strong amateur teams and recruiting great mentors.
Amateur teams.
John hates that. That's irking him. Most of my professional bridge playing recently has been teaching. I have the one class with John Ramos. We're starting another class, which we'll be doing. And every month I'm a guest professor for the bridge professors class. So I've been doing Zoom classes like that. So that's most of my professional bridge playing. I thought I wanted to get hired more for like nationals and stuff, but I think for right now, I just want to, work on learning as much as I can. So I think if I can learn as much as I can and not worry about getting hired now, then in the future, I'll be able to play on some good teams.
Some shout outs quickly to Anam, Adam Grozak, and John Ramos for just being great about mentoring us and offering us advice and bringing us on to some professional deals and giving us these opportunities. If you don't mind me using your podcast to give them a shout out.
No, not at all. Not at all. These you're talking about some previous guests.
Yeah, two of them are previous guests. I was going to mention, I thought it was funny, in your episode with Steve Weinstein, you guys brought me up, and Steve said that he thinks that I might break his record. So after this event, I emailed him. I asked Steve, I said, so does this count? Because there wasn't another event I could use to break the record. And Steve told me, obviously it's a tie. And then I later found out from Adam Grozak that Zach was the record holder. So I was going to be breaking Zach's record, which was way more fun. I love beating Zach. But
who's winning in the Rosenthal versus Donner? Speaking of, have you guys looked at that?
I have not looked at it.
Is the finals being played today?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll check.
Were you doing the ViewGraph or our match the other day?
So yeah, I did ViewGraph all of Friday, and I did 2 segments yesterday. I really like commentating for the matches. I really enjoy listening to the commentating, so I feel like it's nice being able to offer that service for other people to be able to enjoy. And I also did the streaming. I decided to take today off because I'm doing the podcast, and then I have my junior training practice with Michael Zhu, which we do every Sunday. So I figured I would take today off. I definitely enjoy doing that.
And John, did you have any questions for Finn and I about playing in the World Juniors or anything along that front? I saw the Double Dummy movie you made about this, which was great. So if any questions were left unanswered from that, feel free to...
I mean, are they having some sort of online event in replacement of that? The juniors
So
under
it got
21?
postponed 1 year. So it could easily be not happen, but in theory, next summer in August in Salso Maggiore, Italy, they'll be played. So I'm playing on a team with Michael Zhu, Sarah Youngquist, Harrison Luba, Jonathan Yue, and Philip Wang. And Jacob, you can
I'm
say
playing
who
on
you're
a
playing
better
with.
team.
What happens if you're no longer under 21? Can you still be on the team?
They're using
because
the
it was
same.
postponed. It was they're making the same requirements as it was for this last year. So when Jacob played at the China World Championships, I was not on the team for that year, but I did play in the U21 in Croatia this last year with Harrison Luba, and we came third in the team. So I have one medal, and I'm hoping to win more.
And what did Canada do in that event, Finn?
Canada did not. Well, I had 2 Canadians on my team, but Jacob was not one of them.
It was a transnational event. So Finn was teaming with Bruce and John. Bruce is the person who I played with in China the previous summer. So I was glad to see their success in this World Championship. And I think Bruce and John also came third in the pair game. So it was great to see Canada and America so well represented in that.
And Kevin Rosenberg's team also, they won the gold medal in the U26.
Yeah, Kevin's very good. He's a pleasure to play with. I put him in some tight spots during the round robin, and he, there was a hand I had ace, jack, fifth, jack fourth, and Kevin opened 2-no trump. This was in the quarterfinal match.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bid Stamen and then Smolin, and now I can bid 4 diamonds naturally. And the problem, he opened 2 clubs. He opened 2 clubs.
Yeah, I actually know the hand.
So he opens 2 clubs. I bid 2 diamonds. So now he bids 2-no. Then we go through this Smolin sequence. And I'm deciding whether or not I should bid 4 diamonds or not. And the problem is I'm a little light. If we have nothing in clubs, it could be embarrassing. We could make 7 diamonds and go down in 3-no trump. But the problem is that I bid diamonds first.
Yeah.
So I think the winning decision was just to pass 3-no, because if it's a tight spot and Kevin's declaring, then I'm like way more. I think we've got to. I think there's something to passing 3-no for me here. What do you think, Jacob? Finn knows the hand already.
I probably would bid 4 diamonds here, but yeah, that's just my perspective on the hand. And from what I've seen of your declaring skills, you seem to declare pretty well. So I mean, I never like to take Kevin Rosenberg off declaring, since I've seen him do some amazing stuff, but certainly you're a good declarer yourself, so I wouldn't be too worried about the 4 diamond bid.
Jacob thinks the same thing when he's playing with me. He tries to, bid a lot when I'm playing the hands.
All right, guys, I hate to do this. I have to go. I have a squash match starting shortly.
All right, well, good luck, John. We enjoyed it. Thank you.
And also, if you come up with any extra questions and want to hop on another call at some point, we're happy to. But thank you very much for organizing this and giving us the opportunity to be on one of these podcasts. It kind of means we made it at this point when you get to be on
No. We have Jacob. You can't give up winning now. We have a lot more to win.
But, you guys, I'm really happy for you guys. It's a tired thing, but it really is. I love seeing you guys at tournaments. I love your youthful exuberance. And so I'm thrilled that you guys co-won this event, and, you deserve to be interviewed. And I might just take you up on that, getting a little more organized about this the next time. Hopefully
it was a pleasure talking to you, John.
Thank you. Hopefully this will be the first of many conversations after championships won by you two.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you very much.
The night after we recorded the second conversation with Finn and Jacob, I got to play with their teammate, bridge legend Bob Hammond, in a bridge-based game hosted by Walt Schaefer. And Jacob and Finn kindly agreed to play in the game as just to see who was best for the night. And I am happy to report that Bob and I won. One of the real pleasures of getting to host this podcast is getting to share conversations that I wouldn't have otherwise with my bridge playing friends. So Thank you. Thank you to our listeners, and thank you to our guests.